So you're allowing for the possibility that Norvell could actually bounce back more than just in a moderate manner, that he could actually reset his path to being a long-term solution for Florida State. You think that's within the realm of possibility
in
this day and age of college football? Okay.
Oh, I think it's within the realm of possibility that they win 8-9 games next year and compete for the ACC title. Yep, I think it's possible.
Well, then you got explaining to do, because why are you trying to get Tony White hired for Mike's job before Mike has a chance to prove himself? You're getting called out for that on the boards.
I'm getting called out for trying to get Tony White hired?
Yeah, I brought the receipts. There you go. It's on the screen. A guy named Chief WB says you got to do better, bro.
Made the mistake of listening to Jeff Cameron, and the guy suggested that Tony White may just be the next head coach on the roster to replace Norvell. Wow, Jeff. Wow, Jeff's exact words. 605 of the How Mike Norvell is Guiding FSU Football Through Crisis video. Hey, I didn't know we posted the video, I know we posted the show. I didn't know we had
hour 3. I got to title these things. If I title it hour 3, people are like, hour 3 of what? But if you title it, that was our first segment last week. I think that was, let's see, that was last Friday. So it was last Friday's third hour.
So I want to go back, and this is truthful. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't think I said that Tony White that Mike Norvell just hired his replacement. I think I said something to the effect of, well, first of all, I'm very impressed by Tony White. So let me give you the basis for what I think he thinks I think or intimated. And again, I haven't seen that, so I don't know. But what I would tell you is this. I think Tony White was an awesome hire. Tony White is a guy that is and was on the precipice of being a head coach. That is well acknowledged within the industry. Tony White is a serious man, right? And you listen to him talk and you look at the success story of his rise in football and what he's done as a DC and what he did at Nebraska. And you can see where he will be a head coach. And I'm really happy that Mike went out and hired a guy like that, a guy whose defenses I think are going to be very aggressive, a guy whose defenses are going to be very physical, and a guy whose defenses are going to be extremely well coordinated. This was the inconsistency that I saw that drove me nuts under Fuller. There were high points under Fuller. There were things to like under Fuller. There were a lot of things to dislike and a lot of frustrations under Fuller to boot. Those inconsistencies drove me nuts, including and most importantly, the lack of communication. You'd see this frequently if you watched enough Florida State football games as to drive you nuts. Right up until the moment of snap, the kind of frantic effort to communicate and pass off. And the failures to get off the field on third down are well documented. So that's not an opinion. That's a fact. We know what the rankings were. We know what the numbers were. We know the need for the change. And I'm happy he hired two, not one, but two. I guess this guy could have said the same thing maybe about the hiring of Gus Malzahn, who's also a head coach and has been a head coach multiple times. The difference is I don't think Gus Malzahn will be a head coach again. I don't think he wants to be a head coach again. I think that's indicated by the fact that he came here to take over the role as offensive coordinator and left a head coaching job. Now, you may want to say he was on the precipice of being fired by UCF, and perhaps that's true. But I also think just from his own words, you can hear a man who's not really down with the way things are at his age in college football.
I totally agree there. They both took coordinator jobs for the exact opposite reason. Gus doesn't want to be the head coach, and Tony wants to prove he can do it elsewhere so that he fortifies his resume to be.
Okay, so now that allows me to address I don't know what this guy's mad about, by the way. Is he seemingly mad about it based on his opening sentence?
Well, yeah, he says you got to do better. So, let's see if you
can do better. How? Look, if Mike Norvell, what does he think? So listen,
you might be undermining. You're sowing the seeds of undermining anything Mike might achieve by saying that. Well, you might have a better head coach on your coaching roster and your coaching board right now.
Oh, good God Almighty! Are we really gonna sit here and pretend that Mike just didn't go 2-10? Are we gonna pretend that didn't happen? Are we gonna act as if there wasn't something to be slightly concerned about regarding Mike Norvell, the head coach? We're gonna really do that? Also, by the way, I love Mike Norvell, and I hope he gets it turned around. And kudos to him, as I just said, for hiring the men that he did, in particular Tony White, who I like an awful lot and respect and think will be a good head coach someday. Maybe not here, and I don't know that it would be here. My thought is if this defense is very, very good in the next couple of years and is the catalyst for Florida State winning games, and the offense continues to struggle, then yes, maybe you would have your future head coach on the roster in the coaching ranks. Also, by the way, that's how this works a lot of times. If you have an offensive-minded head coach who fails for whatever reason, sometimes you go and you hire a defensive-minded head coach as his replacement, and vice versa. If your defensive-minded head coach is failing, you go find an offensive-minded head coach. Just like in the NFL and college football over, you see guys that are disciplinarian or players coaches. When the player coach fails, they bring in the disciplinarian. When the disciplinarian fails, they bring in the players coach. Got it. This is the way it all works, the ebbs and flows of coaching hires throughout football as long as it's been played. Got it. I'm not undermining anything. How does me suggesting that Tony White might someday be the replacement for Mike Norvell, if he succeeds here at a high level, how does that undermine? How does that make Mike, let's say, less confident, less powerful, less likely to succeed, which would be the definition of undermining somebody? Yeah, no, it doesn't. Okay, I'll breathe.
I would say just say do better. That's all.
So the point would be, Mike, first of all, the fact that Mike would hire a guy who has head coaching aspirations, would go out and hire a guy whose goal, a stated goal, is to be a head coach, shows you how much confidence Mike Norvell has as a coach himself. You wouldn't hire somebody that you were worried was going to undermine you or perhaps take your job. If you were that sort of feeble and fragile and weak and sensibilities that were that kind of soft, you wouldn't do it. Mike has got, I would think, an awful lot of confidence in his ability to recognize talent. He has hired a lot of coaches that have gone on to have a lot of success. Mike isn't looking over his shoulder and worried about that. In fact, he's encouraging coaches and wants them to succeed. And I don't think that thinking that Tony White was a great hire and that someday he might be a head coach, maybe even here, somehow undermines Mike's ability to get this turned around. Mike will succeed or fail regarding his future at Florida State, and it will have nothing to do with what I say on an afternoon talk show. Thanks for giving me that much credit. But here's the deal.
He's worried that the players might catch wind of your words.
Thanks for listening to the show, man. If Mike goes under 500 next year, he's fired. Whether I love him, hate him, undermine him, prop him up, it makes no difference. Whatever happens on the field is going to determine whether Mike Norvell is here. Players aren't going to think, I was listening to Jeff Cameron one afternoon, and he's right. Tony White should be the next head football coach here. Why don't we all mutiny against Mike Norvell in order to get Tony White the head coaching job? What in the world?